I was out by the garden one September day, and there was a absolute symphony of insects buzzing. And it was like, wow, this is why we need prairie.
The prairie strip is put in perpendicular to your waterways. So you come along here, and what that does is as the water moves down the slope, then it gets filtered through all these stiff stemmed prairie grasses that stand up and trap any soil that might be moving with the water, and do some filtering. I was willing to rent 4.5 acres to the CRP program. I feel like I got a pretty good payment, and still getting that same payment, now. It was a 10-year program, and I think it was 2012 when we first put it in.
We decided, because of the acreage, that 4 prairie strips was necessary to do the work that it needed to do on the last third of our property here on this east section of the farm. They're 30 feet wide approximately, and a full 1/4 mile long. So it's about, each strip is about 1 acre. So we took 4 acres out of production for the strips.
While all of Iowa was prairie and grassland at one time, the remnants in my area are pretty much gone. There might be, some plants still surviving in the roadsides and things like that.
I just thought, I need more wildness in my landscape right here. And so that was a bit of providing some wildness with the prairie strips in the middle of this monoculture. For one, aesthetic beauty, but also for the native bees and insects, and for the birds that they've shown with ISU research has increased the bird population a little bit for more diversity.
A lot of my reasoning was to try to provide some habitat for the insects and pollinators and beetles and different species that aren't able to make it, in a corn and bean rotation, especially with tillage and stuff. They just don't have a habitat where they can be protected. Well, NRCS gave me a lot of guidance on who to contact, and I was invited to be a participant in the strips. I'm a cooperator for that out of Iowa State. But then the Pheasants Forever group was a great resource for finding the prairie seed that I wanted to use.
The prairie strips folks at Iowa State, Tim Youngquist, but Lisa Schulte-Moore, and fortunately we've had a lot of research since I got established.
Well, first I started out and it was just like, let it go, But then you see a few problems, where the tree pops up, or it's like, okay, I got to do something with these grounds. So to keep the diversity up, sometimes mowing it down at the right time, I've found that works pretty well, actually. If you mow it just before it's going to flower, that it kind of takes the energy out of that plant, and then they can't compete.
I had to mow the first at least 3 times the first year. I think I mowed twice the second year, and after that they were established.
I think it was like 5 or 6 years before I did a burn. It was like fun, kind of a fun thing to do in early April or whatever, the timing pops up.
I try to burn every 2 years. I hope to be able to burn this fall and spring with the canola that's going to be planted here. It should be okay.
I've seen eagles out flying around out here, looking for something to hunt, and soaring over the prairie. We see deer using it. We see pheasants using it. A lot of times I hear a rooster crowing out here when I'm walking around.
You can listen to the birds. We have some tree sparrows that came. I don't know if they came this year or not. Some bird boxes along the way. We saw a couple pairs of tree sparrows last year. That was awesome. One year I saw a bobolink that came through. It was traveling through. That was pretty cool.
The only bottom line is not the dollar bill. There's a lot of bottom lines for me that have to do with the environment, and feel that that's more important to leave the earth in a good position.
So you can get paid, just like CRP, for putting land into prairie strips, which I think it's awesome. It's really great to see that happening.
You can kind of look at Like if you have an odd-shaped field or something where a waterway winds through the field, and so you end up with all these little hard-to-farm pieces, you know, you might just take that out, make it easier for yourself, and it'll still fit some of the standards.
Really, for just a little bit of land, you can do a lot of benefit. This is a very inexpensive way to improve water quality and soil erosion, and without actually doing terraces and things like that. That's expensive. So why not try it for 10 years? I can't solve the world's problems, but I really deeply believe I need to do what little I can on this piece of property to make the world a little bit better place. So we'll see how it unfolds.
You know, to walk out here and find all the different flowers, and some of them are pretty short, and you just have to go out into the prairie and look for them sometimes. But it's just kind of a good place to take a walk.